Welcome back to World's News, where we present you the most important and funniest news from the past week. This week's topics are the world's first soft robot that the Twitter board agreed to Musk's offer, why TikTok is important in the presidential race in Colombia, and lastly, the weekly update on the Russo-Ukrainian war. I hope you'll enjoy this week's news, so let's get the first topic started. The world's first soft robot. There are countless different kinds of robots. We have little robots like these Lego robots that some might remember, and we also have little robots that are just fun to play with. But we have really useful robots as well. These can be, for example, automated vehicles or robotic arms that are used in factories or even in space. But there's one thing that they all have in common. They're all made of solid parts. And why wouldn't they be? I mean, it would be hard trying to build tech from soft parts, wouldn't it? Of course it would. But that was never a thing to stop scientists, because a team of scientists in Hong Kong built the world's first soft robot. And please don't expect too much, because right now it is impossible to build advanced robots from soft parts. But in my opinion, what they achieved is crazy enough. This robot is made of slime containing magnetic particles which can be manipulated using external magnets. And this is cool, but what do we need a slime robot for? So this may surprise you, but the researchers said that this robot's main purpose would be extracting things from your stomach that were swallowed on accident. And since the magnetic particles are toxic, the slime was covered in a layer of silicon compound. Now, reading the title of this topic, you might have expected something more revolutionizing, but just think about it. I mean, they can change the form of the slime to almost any form they want, so it's able to grab things, and they're doing that just by applying magnetic force. For that, you'd have to give all the different particles different properties or something like that, and that alone is crazy already. And think about how far this technology could come within the next few years. So I think it's safe to say that we'll hear of this again. Twitter agreed to Musk's offer. 2 weeks ago, I told you about Elon Musk's intentions to buy Twitter, and I pretty much explained the whole thing. So if you're curious to know what exactly happened, check out this video first. So after some time thinking about the upsides and downsides of Musk's offer, the Twitter board agreed, and soon Elon Musk will buy Twitter for $44 billion. Oh, and once that got public, we tweeted that on our Twitter account, so feel free to follow us there as well. Anyways, despite being the richest man in the world, which he will stay even after buying Twitter, he doesn't have that much money on bank accounts, let alone in cash. Because if rich people know one thing, then it's that money in your bank account basically goes to waste. So he'll have a hard time liquidating some of his assets to be able to afford Twitter, as funny as that sounds. But why exactly does he want to buy Twitter? Well, he doesn't like the influence that some Twitter investors currently have on the platform in terms of freedom of speech. So he basically wants Twitter to become a fortress of free speech. And this also means that many accounts that were banned by the current owners of Twitter will be reinstated. But Donald Trump, for example, said that even if his account was reinstated by Musk, he wouldn't get back on Twitter. Why TikTok is important in the presidential race in Colombia. You know TikTok, right? Of course you do. With over 1 billion users, it is one of the most used social media platforms of our time. And you probably also know what elections are, right? So let's say we served them a nice dinner and waited a few months. Then we'd get what's going on in Colombia right now. Because there, TikTok has become a major political battleground for Colombia's presidential candidates. And I know this sounds weird, but just think about it. Because what do you do if you want to reach out to young voters? You go to where they are, and let's be honest, almost every one of us is on TikTok. But does that really work how Colombia's presidential candidates would like it to work? So the presidential elections aren't finished until May 29th. So we don't know for sure, but let's just say that they have some traffic on their pages. Rodolfo Hernandez, for example, has 283,000 followers and an average of 19,500 views per video. That isn't exactly bad. And another candidate, Gustavo Petro, has 585,000 followers and an average of 29,500 likes per video. So you can actually see some tendencies for who will win that election on TikTok, which of course isn't representative since most voters aren't on TikTok, but you can still make some interesting statistics of it. So I just thought that this was quite the interesting direction where our society could be heading. And once the Colombian people elected their new president, we'll tell you the result here on World News. The Russo-Ukrainian war, an update. The war is still going on, and what Putin planned to be a 2-day invasion has reached day 66. But there's no end in sight, because the battlefield seems to have grown even bigger. In the past days there were multiple fires at sensitive facilities in Russia. These were, for example, storage depots, a sensitive defense research site, and the country's largest chemical plant. But to this point in time, we don't know how or why this happened. I mean, this is way too specific to be a coincidence, and while the theory that Ukrainian soldiers were cutting off the support for their enemies is most likely, this could have also been an act of protest by Russian people. But this will probably stay unclear till the war is over. So for now, I'll get to another thing which sounds funny but very weird at the same time. Because Russia is using military trained dolphins to protect its Black Sea naval base, as new satellite images reveal. You might have seen our tweet about this, and by the way, feel free to follow us on Twitter to get some interesting news or to be notified when we upload a new video. Anyways, this sounds unreal, but Russia has actually been training and deploying marine animals for military purposes since the 1960s. During the Cold War, both the US and the Soviet Union deployed marine mammal programs using animals like beluga whales, seals and dolphins on the Soviet side, and dolphins and Californian sea lions on the American side. And if you were wondering what they used them for, dolphins communicate via whistles at high frequencies, and they can locate objects through echolocation. The Russian news agency RIA Novosti was even told that Russian specialists developed new devices that are able to convert dolphins' underwater sonar detection of targets into a signal to the operator's monitor. That way they can detect enemies in the water. So almost everything indicates that this conflict will go on for several weeks if not months. But right now it also looks like this war could end like it began, with no territory changing its owner. These were the most important and funny news from the past week. If you've got any suggestions on topics that we missed out on, feel free to let us know in the comments. And once you're done there, you might as well consider liking and subscribing, since it's free and helps us out more than you could imagine. But now to this week's bonus fact. There was a time when Pepsi had the 6th largest military in the world. Many years ago, the ruble US dollar exchange rate wasn't all that good, so in exchange for Pepsi soft drinks, it agreed to a deal taking possession of a Soviet cruiser, a frigate, a destroyer, 17 submarines and a handful of oil tankers, therefore making it the 6th most powerful military force in the world.